G'day. You're out in the middle of the bush, really enjoying it, you and your partner and the kids. Suddenly the kids, oh, I've got no reception. There's only a panic on their behalf or semi on yours because you think, oh, how am I going to put up with this? So really 3 ways to fix that. Either you go back in town where there is reception and you miss out on the place you wanted to visit, or you tell the kids, hey, get over it. Good luck on that. Well, the third one is to boost your signal. And in boosting your signal, there's only 2 methods that I know of that you can use. One is by a company called Selfie Go. Selfie Go have a dedicated one for Optus. They have a dedicated one for Telstra. And the other type is one which I really love. It's on a big pole, big antenna, and down the bottom of that is connected to the back of your caravan or car, probably a caravan. And on the top of that is what they call a MIMO antenna, special antenna for picking up a good signal. And down the bottom is a Nighthawk router. You can either get the M5 or the M6, or if you're really on a budget, get the M2. Not sure how good that is. And with that combination, you pretty much got it sorted. You'll get it sorted as good as you're going to get it wherever you are. Anywho, pretty excited myself. Let's go. Hey there team, I'm not sure about the protocol of YouTube, but I'm going to be out front with you anyway. The majority of this product that I'm reviewing was given to me for review. I did buy the Nighthawk M5 myself, but the pole, the antenna, the cabling, the little pull-out adjustment thing, all of that product was supplied by me. Thank you very much. I loved the product before it was given to me, and ever since I've been using it, I love it more and more every day, especially since I can put YouTube videos up quickly most places there is any form of a signal. Anywho, let's go check it out. About the kit, it's a 4-piece kit. Basically in the kit there is the pull out and turn adjuster. Not absolutely necessary, but I thought it was a lovely luxury. Then the pole or antenna itself. The antenna, which is the MIMO antenna. And finally the router, which is called a Nighthawk. Now you can get the Nighthawk M5 or the M6. I've got the M5. You can actually, if you're really on a budget, go the M2, but I can't guarantee how good that is. I think the M2 doesn't pick up 5G, whereas the M5 and the M6 definitely picks up 5G. So let's do the breakdown and I'll walk you through each one of those components. The next one up is the pole. As you can see, it's a fairly tall pole just to start off with, and if you're lucky like me, I don't really have too much in that PVC pipe that I've got at the front, or you might have at the back. But it's probably 2 meters to start with at its shortest, and then you undo these components and then it extends. Now you can see that the top bolt is pulled all the way out. It doesn't really make much difference how much you adjust that bottom one. Once you've been on a rocky road or on a off-road, like all things, the vibration will eventually tighten it up. In some ways that setup is pretty good setup, because slight disadvantage of this whole system is the user. If you put it all the way down and it touches the ground, and for some reason you start to drive off and you think, oh, the pole and the antenna, it may at that stage be too late and you may have already bent it. Whereas the way it's set up at the moment, that bottom bolt actually stops it from hitting the ground, so you don't want to drive off. But if you drive off a short distance, think, oh, great, at least it's not dragging on the ground and bending the pole. Now the next thing is, that's the setup. I'm going to take it off and then put the antenna on, because then I extend it. So I can't extend it the way it's set up at the moment. I take it off, I make it as long as I think I'm going to need it to be, like so. You unscrew this little contraption. I've taken it right off because mine's getting firm. You could actually put some, maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe Vaseline or something in there to make this thing move up and down easier. So I'm going to take it out. I don't think I want it much more than that. That's going to be pretty jolly high. I'll then put this, screw this back on. And that locks one of the extensions. There's 2 extensions. I'm pretty sure it goes up to about 5.3 metres. I can tell you the caravan, including the air conditioner, is 2.9, so you might be able to already see, yeah, it's sitting pretty high. Now I'll need to get out the antenna next. My recommendation, rather than lean it somewhere, it's probably a good idea to lay it down, because invariably what will happen is the wind will pick up, something will happen, you'll bump it, next minute down it goes. Now in its extended version, if it falls down and again bends one of the pipes, you're in a bit of trouble. I'll next go and get the MIMO antenna. Now some of my friends criticise me for keeping boxes, but I like to keep boxes, keep everything in the box if I can, and then later on what I'll probably do is buy a little plastic container from a dollar shop, around about the same size. Definitely a good idea to keep the bubble wrap. And here it is, here's one I prepared earlier. Bubble wrap goes in. So that's pretty much what it looks like. Now when you first get it, these little components won't be attached. It's just a matter of a couple of bars. They are pretty self-explanatory. And it hooks into, first of all you put the panel on, this panel. See that square panel there, you put that on first. You then slide this guy up into it, then secure it, and you can see that that's always secured in. And this is just a U-bolt. And the U-bolt's just a matter of loosening it off to slide it on the shaft of the aerial. Anyway, we're not at that stage, so I'll now undo all my wiring. And there it is. It sits up like so at the very top of the aerial or the pole. It's secured in with this little locking mechanism, and I'll measure the cable in a minute, but it's very, very long. Again, at this stage, I definitely would not be leaning it up against anything, and rather than lay it down on its actual front, I usually lay it down on its back, so it keeps it all in nice pristine condition and won't affect anything, but at least it always looks nice and fresh and new. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to get the correct spanner to tighten up that little nut so that the whole antenna doesn't move up and down on the shaft, because it can move a fair way if it's loose spanner. If you can't find the correct spanner, a pair of pliers will do, or a little adjustable spanner. But I always try to have the right spanner for every little thing I've got inside the car and the van. And that's not it, it's too small, that's an 8. Trying a 9. Not the 9. There was the 9, what's that? Oh, it's 11. I've got a 9 and 11. Can't find the 10. I've known the 10's been missing for a little while. Hopefully today's clean-up of the car and van will find that 10 size spanner. Don't get pointy nose, get a nice big chunky pair of pliers. And be gentle with it. If you do it too hard, you might start damaging the nut. Just check it's reasonably firm. Yep, that's pretty firm. Okay, we're almost there. Now, if you want it to be reasonably stable, you really should take it all the way down to the ground. But as I said before, just try and remember, don't drive off with the aerial up, the antenna up, because you might bend the shaft. I'm going to take a chance and I will lower mine to the ground just to give it a bit more stability. It's a 19. So I'm going to tighten this up just so it doesn't fall down too fast. So I'm now going to loosen the bottom one. It's going this way, it's got to be this way. It's got to come out a fair way so it can drop down the shaft. It's probably about it. Yep. So I would hang on to the shaft, otherwise it's going to drop at a bit of a pace. And again, you don't want to damage this pole. So that way. There we go. It's now touching the ground. Do the bottom one up by hand. Top one up by hand. Both by spanner. Doesn't need to be done crazy tight, just firm. But it's got some stability. I think that you have to allow it will blow a little bit in the wind. If you were really stressed about it, what you could do, I guess, is put something up on the roof permanently that comes out and actually holds it, so it so the system looks like this. A bit of plastic, I think. It's like when you're putting a broom in a broom cupboard and you want to put the dowel up against it, and what happens is it clips in and just holds it firm. It doesn't hold it crazy, but you might want to set something like that up if you're worried about on a strong wind. Super strong wind, I probably wouldn't have it up anyway. Okay, we're almost there. So we've got pulled down the adjustment thing, we've loosened all the bolts, we've put the MIMO antenna on the top, we've adjusted it to the heights, made certain that that's firm and not going to roll down the internal of the, yep. Yeah, they're all nice and tight, so it's not going to roll down because it's a concertina. Telescopic, it's telescopic, we don't want it to telescope to slip on down. This very, very long cable, I'll give you measurements on it because you might want to know. This long cable then goes into the caravan some way. And again, if you want to make this somewhat permanent, which I do, and I haven't quite worked out where to put it yet, but you might want to have some sort of a hole to go through the van so that if, for instance, it was here, you could just push it through, feed it through and pull it out. Beautiful, be always set up. As I say, I don't like to put holes in the caravan, but at some stage I probably will, so it's a lot more permanent. But at the moment what I was going to do is I'm going to come from here, go in through the door. I'll put it in the very corner of the door so that I can close the door without actually pinching the cord, and I'll show you that bit now. Pop my spanner away so I don't lose it like I lost the 10. I know some of you will probably be looking at it thinking, oh well, it's going to stuff even that width of that wire into the closed door and there's a possibility he could damage it. Quite true. So what I've done is I've opened up the master door, left the wire screen free and easy. What I'm going to do is, I showed you a long time ago, the champagne cork in here, just in case that this door does in fact open. It's not going to lock in, but we don't want it to open. And you might find, yep, there's just a tiniest gap in there. Now, we don't want to be expanding gaps and all that sort of stuff because that nice rubber down there that sits there firm, you increase the gap, you're going to get midges and bugs in there. Midges, hate midges. A bit like Indiana Jones, I hate snakes, I hate midges. Anywho, so yeah, I'm going to feed this wire through this little gap down the bottom. In fact, it's going to be the cheat's way, so I'm going to open up the door and I will tuck it under, pull all the cable I need through. Now, to be honest, you don't really need much inside because the van is only so big. Now that cable's in, I'm going to pull it across to the very corner there, and then I want to close it. Again, perfect scenario would be able to get in there some way without allowing midges and everything in, but a bit more of a permanent, say, oh, there's the hole to feed through the MIMO antenna. Now, the next stage is inside the van. Give me about half an hour to half a day. I'll clean up the van so we can go inside and see the setup. You've just got your M5 or M6, let's assume it's going to be M5. You've got your M5, which looks like that. Now, the first time you'll get it, you'll, as I said earlier on, you'll plug into this little hole here. You put in a USB-C type charger, charge it up to 100%. Later on, these little holes here are important. So what we'll do now is we will pull it apart. Take the top off, take the battery out, and that's how you'll have it looking at that stage. We need to then put a SIM into here. With your SIM you get your gold reflective type that side and just your paper look on that side. So what you're doing is you're looking at the paper and you're putting the gold parts into the router. So that will look like something like going in here. You push it in. Oh, and there's a little cut mark on every SIM, just a little chip off the side there, deliberate. So you're aiming that little chip to be on the top left-hand side. So you put it into there. Don't squeeze, don't push it, force it, just put it in gently. Right, so it started to move in. All you need to do now is just push it with your finger and it's in fully. It's ready to go. You now put the battery back in. There. You put the cover on. how you tell which way the cover goes. It's the same as the net gear. Don't put it in upside down or sideways. The two net gears will line up. Push it on, push it all around. It's now ready to go. Press the power button, release. You'll see the little net gear sign come on, and next will be the 5G, I think, comes on. Okay, up here it'll say it's searching. Okay, it's found my Telstra. Now the lovely thing about this particular unit is it's touch screen. So you can do all sorts of things in the touch screen. Now it's almost ready to go, but we need to plug in. Remember I mentioned these little holes? That section there is quite important, because that's where the MIMO antenna on the top comes down with its cable and plugs into there and there. The reason we're not doing this in the caravan is it looks a tad untidy in there, and I don't want to get an embarrassing situation. Okay, so what I've done is I've turned on the Nethawk. These important cables now, it's coming from the antenna, the MIMO antenna, right down the shaft of the pole, telescopic pole, cabling all the way through to here, and it has these little, real tiny little connectors. So those connectors go, remember I talked about the holes before? It doesn't make any difference whether you put A into B or B into A, it doesn't make any difference. So plug it in there, plug it in there. It's a slight fault in the design, and there's no way around it that I know of, because they can easily come out. What I do is I pop it in, and then I pop something heavy on that to hold it in. So I get a good connection. Then I check turn it back on again. It's not turned off. I just hit the button and the power comes up. It says Telstra 4G. Everything about it at the moment is technically okay. So really the proof is in the pudding, and it's ironic that I'm doing all of this and I'm trying desperately to put this video up so it gets up in time for the weekly Sunday viewing. So fingers crossed, we should almost be there. Well, there it is. The pole is up, the telescopic pole. It's probably up, yeah, about a third of the way up. It goes a lot higher, but I'm happy with that. Now, the big question you're probably asking is, how do I know how high I should be putting it up there? Well, you can either ask a local, which is what I did. I said, oh, where's the towers? And he said, there. So I faced the MIMO there. Now, the other alternative to that is an app called Oz Phone Towers. Have a look at it, have a play with it. Unfortunately, I looked everywhere on YouTube. No one has made a video on it successfully, I don't think, to show you how to use it. You can kind of feel your way around and you kind of get the general gist of it. But basically, I would show you, but I'm probably going to make it worse for you. So Oz Phone Towers will tell you where the best aerial is, best, I don't know whether they're called repeaters or... bless me. Oz Phone Towers will tell you if you know how to use it. Again, apologies for not showing you, but I'm sure if I showed you, you'd go backwards. So that, or ask locals. And you think, well, I'm going to ask local around here. You'd be surprised. Almost every person, even the travellers, will say, oh yeah, the towers are over there. Oh, boom, that's where you face them. So that's where it's facing at the moment. And it's peaking out there on the router, so we should be looking pretty good. I'm just finishing the video, which I'm just putting this into and doing the final edit, and then I'm rendering it, and then I'm putting it up for you guys. There you have it. Just before I wrap it up, there's probably a couple of questions you would want to ask me. Well, hang on, why didn't I talk about Selfie Go? why didn't I talk about Starlink? Okay, I will mention them very quickly. I've got Selfie Go. I was at a place called Barn Hill, which is on the in Western Australia, a great little camping spot. I was trying to get one of these videos up, and I was by the cafe and I was using Selfie Go. This is not across the board, but it'll give you a rough idea. It was going to take 8.5 hours to get it up onto the internet. My files are big. I met one of the guys there who had the exact setup that I've got here. He said, bring your gear over here, we'll have a beer, see how it goes using my system. I went over there, plugged it in, set it up on the internet. What was going to take 8.5 hours took me 45 minutes. Really? And about Starlink, Starlink is great from what I've seen. Speaking to another one of the YouTubers, and they actually let me use it. However, from what I can gather, Starlink is great sort of from the middle of the southern part of Australia down. Beautiful, absolutely great. Bit expensive, but we're probably going to end up going that way anyway. The more north you go, there's less satellites up there, so you know, at the moment it's okay, but it's about to be good to great. So I think certainly by the end of the year, we'll kind of no later, I think, than mid next year, it will be what travellers will be taking. That's if internet is important for you on the road. If it's just to download a couple of movies or to, you know, look at a bit of Instagram, stuff like that, I really wouldn't bother. Anywho, if you found this video helpful, useful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And if you think this video is worth sharing, that also would be great. Until next time, this is Paul Wheel Drive signing off.